Big hello to everybody and welcome to people in Poland and Croatia and Malta. Um, we are just going to have a bit of a chat. Big welcome to you, Thomson.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you sharing some of your experience. I know you're just setting out into I suppose your first venture into business. So it's very brave of you to come on and share some of your experiences with us today. I guess we've been talking a lot about pop culture. What is pop culture? What is this here? And I know when I talked to you, Thomson, you were going, I'm not even sure what pop culture is. You know, it's this sort of definition that's out there. So we are trying to define that this week as well. But it doesn't have to be cartoon pinks and greens and yellows. It doesn't have to be gaming. It doesn't have to be tourism. We're going to talk today, I suppose, about clothing, and particularly sort of branded clothing, and which comes from a subculture of sport and casual football scene and all that sort of thing. So it still fits within the definition of pop culture. So big welcome to you. Thomson and Co. How would you describe your business, Thomson?
Well, as you say, I've described my business as being inspired by the whole football casual scene. Not to be confused with that of football hooligans, as what's depicted in the media. So this type of brands and stuff that I sell, likes of Stone Island or CP Company, which a lot of the football casuals would invest in and be really passionate about. At the minute, it's an online business that just sells men's clothing. I've mentioned some of the brands, but kind of my take on it is that I'm in a position to sell well below the recommended retail prices on the clothes, which is, it's benefiting me and obviously the buyer. My business based in Belfast, as James previously mentioned, and I was established there around April, May time. So just after sort of lockdown had come into place here, and which then I registered then as a limited company.
Yeah, and it's just amazing, even that you're every day in the news we're hearing that businesses are closing. And yet you were able to, I suppose, venture into setting up a new business at this time, and the challenges of COVID. I guess one of the questions are, you decided to set up as a limited company. Why did you choose that as the option for you?
For me, I felt it was the best option, as I want to keep my business sort of separated from a personal life. And I thought limited company was the best way to do that. The only other option really was to go through sole trader, but because I work full time as well, I want to establish Thomson & Co. as a brand in itself, as well as a business. So I don't really want to be, although my name's in it, but I don't really have that affiliation.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a bit of protection for you in your private life, in your home life, by setting up as a limited company. Yeah. And I mean, it's a whole area of research about different ways to set up your company. It's very interesting. And there might be some questions from some people listening today about that. So just in terms of, you're passionate about clothing. I know that from talking to you. You could maybe sort me out. I'm feeling a wee bit underdressed here. But what is your passion? What's this passion about this type of clothing? Tell us a wee bit more about that.
So my passion kind of comes from, again, sort of being involved and watching from outside at that whole football sort of casual scene, from when I was younger, through films, through books, through documentaries, and actually going to football games, and you see all these men sort of, going to these football games, and they're all wearing the same type of clothing. And I always thought, like, I want to be like one of them type thing. But as I got older and my knowledge sort of deepened around, to say, human behavior, really. And I started to look more and more into it as to why people were wearing these brands. Why were they doing it? And what I found was it wasn't just a symbol of wealth, because some of them, sorry, my dog's barking. Some of them, as I say, some of the items of clothing is really, really expensive. So I always thought he's just showing off type thing. Whereas when I looked more and more into it and actually got speaking to people, it turns out that it was like a badge. The brand itself was that of identity and belonging, because you stayed with your own wee crowd, if you know what I mean, when you were wearing it, especially when you are going to football games. And again, really, really passionate about these brands as well, is because of the quality that's actually involved in making them, and they retain their value, which, something that my dog's still barking. There's a dog walking by my door. Sorry about that. But these brands as well, they maintain their value because of the quality and the workmanship. And a lot of them as well, are involved in handmade processes, so it isn't just, cheaply made, in a factory somewhere that doesn't pay the right wages. They're actually that wee bit more expensive because they're paying real wages to people who are using their creative talents to create them, and actually design them. And so
Yeah.
again,
So there's a whole angle around style and fashion and quality clothing, but the aspect of identity and being a subculture, and being able to identify not just in your local community, but if you met somebody who was wearing that clothing from another country, it is like a brand. It's like a uniform.
It is, yeah, and it does. It brings people together, and straight away, if I see someone else wearing that brand, it's a talking point.
Yeah.
Right away, because each of these brands have their own different lanes and different different sort of materials and how it's created. And again, it creates those talking points with other people, and for a fact that, okay, that person must support a certain football team if you are in another country. So again, it is another talking point.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because there was a girl on yesterday, Ellie, that we were all watching as well, and I know you were there watching as well. But it was very much about communities of like-minded people coming together, and your interest and your expertise in that allows you to find a way to create your business out of it. So there's a common thread there in what both of you were talking about. I mean, just the journey from being interested in this to the actual action, taking the step to turn it into a business. Can you tell us how that happened? Or
yeah, so this is where it turns a wee bit interesting. So I've always been interested in starting my own business. Like, I've always had different business ideas, and I'm someone that would call myself a wee bit very creative in coming up with those ideas. I've always, as I say, I've always been interested in this line of clothing and the subculture, that surrounds it. And basically, a few years ago, I did look into it, and I did look into having my own business, obviously selling these items of clothing, and stocking these brands that can be quite difficult to get, to be honest. Whereas I was just kept being met with negative replies, and the industry itself is so competitive, and people don't want to be telling you, where they got help, or where they, have their distributors and their names and their contact numbers. So it's a wee bit, get you a wee bit down, when you kept being met with no answers, and no one really wants to help you. So for a while, it was at the back of my mind. But while it was at the back of my mind, it was always in my mind. Something that I always thought about. There was an opportunity one day. I'm in a lot of different sort of groups on social media that people talk about, those items of clothing and try and sell as well. Whereas I stumbled across a Facebook post where there was a seller in England, in Blackburn, actually, where he was offering to genuine interested parties, he had some available wholesale stock, that he was wanting to get rid of. So took a wee bit of courage, a wee bit of debating inside my own head as to whether I should give him a call, am I doing the right thing here? Because it is a risk, and it's a big risk, if you're talking, trying to find the money and stuff as well. And, can you trust this person to transfer the money? Is he actually going to send you the goods? Is he just going to take the money and run? So I decided to give him a ring, and I had my pitch and stuff set up. First time ever doing something like this here. I felt like, a real businessman, So I gave him a pitch and all, told him a wee bit about me and stuff like that there. And he was saying, how much are you looking to buy? Here's me, I haven't got, £2 in my name here. Like, what am I going to say? So I had to just make up a figure in my head, and something that I thought that he would like. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'll get the money later. I'll pay him from somewhere type thing. Or maybe just not phone him again, put it at the back of my mind. So give him a figure, which was a few thousand. Which, happy enough, he was like, yep, no problem, that sounds good. I'll start sending you over some pictures of the stock and all this here. No problem, mate, cheers, thank you, all the best. Hung up. He starts sending over the stock list and he starts telling me the prices. Where that was my real first insight as the markups in terms of what they are actually buying at and what they're selling for. To be fair, he was probably getting it cheaper elsewhere and putting a wee bit extra onto himself, but there was still a profit to be made there.
That's business.
So I had a look at it and I was like, right, I have my opportunity here. I've always talked about it, and I talked to people around me who were close to me and, debated the idea again in my head. Do I take the risk, or do I just move on? So I decided to take the risk. And I had a car there and I was like, should I sell my car to buy this stock? And I was thinking, you know what, it's lockdown, I can't really go anywhere. So, and if I ever need a car again, I'll go and get one. So I sold the car and I got a couple of pounds for the car and decided to then buy some stock off him. Lucky enough, the stock arrived, intact. It arrived how he said it would. So he didn't rip me off, which is a good thing. So now I was I had all this stock and I was like, oh no, what do I do with this? How am I going to sell this? I don't have a shop. I didn't want to get a shop. I didn't want to get a physical location because obviously, I had to raise deposits and stuff for the rent of the shop and it was a massive outlay. So then I created my Facebook pages, as you've seen, and Instagram. Yeah. Started selling through those places. Had a wee bit of learning in terms of started selling on the likes of Depop, which is obviously a third party selling. And then PayPal as well, set up a PayPal, set up an eBay account, set up an Amazon account. Didn't realize, obviously, the Depop and PayPal obviously took fees out of everything that you sell as well. So that was a lesson learned there too. But yeah, after making that connection, it actually built up a lot of confidence in myself. Phoning that guy in England and getting that supply in, where I started to make contacts with others, with others in the industry. I used to get knocked back all the time, but something just seemed to click and I seemed to get a lot more confidence in myself in terms of what I was talking about whenever I phoned these people. So I actually found another supplier based in the Netherlands, who again actually shipped some stock to me as well, but I had to find out about how do I actually transfer money internationally and all this here, which again was another learning curve. And again, you're trusting someone as you send that money. Are they going to send this stock? So, and I'm not really in a position where I can really raise queries or go to the bank and say, here, they've ripped me off type thing. Because I am a small business, like very very small. I'm the only employee. So again, I took the risk. It paid off. Again, the stock arrived, but it's always a confidence building. It's always confidence. And I managed to find another supplier in Italy as well now. So I have who I've had built a good relationship with.
It's amazing just listening to the journey there, and I think that's what
I'm in a meeting, huh?
Okay.
Has somebody got their sound on there? I think what's fascinating about your journey is, that you said there that you felt like a real businessman at one stage. It's this, when the light switches on, that you you take the steps, you take the risks. I mean, and you're still learning, obviously, day by day. But what point do you actually become a real businessman? In this journey.
Yeah, I suppose that's everyone's own personal preference there, would you say? In my head, I have a vision in my head, which I'm sure you'll ask me about, but and we'll get to that.
But I think when you take that, it sounds like from your story, when you take that first step and you decide, and you commit to it, you sold your car, you took the action, and things have sort of flowed on from that.
They have, and to be honest with you, I've been lucky, and it hasn't been all smooth sailing. I'm talking about there, obviously I took the risk and it worked out, but some days when I look around me, and my room here at the minute is filled with stock at the minute, they are selling, but again, you're trying to get your name out there and you're trying to promote yourself, and you have a look around you some days and you think, oh no, what have I done? Type thing, but you have to just keep going, and keep saying to yourself, I can do this, I can make it. If I've got this far, I can keep pushing myself.
Yeah, it definitely sounds encouraging. I'm sure that there's people listening to your story here today who have maybe an idea in their minds, and they're fearful about taking that step. So there's a lot of stuff, and hopefully they're thinking about some questions that they could ask you in the panel in a wee while. Can I just ask you about a couple of the online things? Because you mentioned a thing called Depop. Now, I've 2 young daughters, so I know what it is because there's something arrives every 2 days from Depop in my house. But can you tell us a wee bit more about what Depop is?
I'll just add there, Paul, I haven't bought anything off me for yourself yet, so
for Christmas, no.
Just put that out there. I have plenty of big sizes for you here.
Thank you.
So yeah, Depop is an online selling platform. Would kind of put you in the mind of sort of like an eBay model, but you actually have your own page on it where your items are all listed, kind of like your own wee website.
Okay.
In a way, where people can interact with you as well and send you messages, and maybe sometimes you get people offering you a price that's maybe under what you bought it for, type thing. But you can sell. I know Depop is mostly clothes, but I know you can sell practically anything for it or on it. But again, just be aware of the hidden sort of fees on Depop, which again is a learning curve. I've been caught out a couple of times. I think Depop take like 10%, and that money will go straight to your PayPal account then. And not another like 3% onto that. So, you learn that to set your prices as well. From that.
Yeah, and that's something that comes through experience, I suppose, and learning by mistakes.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. I'm just conscious of time here, because we could talk for another 15, 20 minutes. Is there any just key bits of advice that you would give to anybody who's thinking about setting up their business? And I suppose even, you set this up alongside you work as well. I know you're full-time working, so this is a business you've set up alongside. But with that in mind, is there any advice or warnings that you would give to people who are considering setting up?
Advice is take the risk. If you believe in yourself enough, and you trust yourself and you're disciplined enough that you're going to be able to set up late, and you're going to be able to keep pushing sales, and you're going to be able to keep publishing on social media. Social media has been absolutely massive. It has. What I really recommend with social media is to run a couple of competitions if you're going to do that, because if somebody isn't interested in what you have to sell, there's always a chance of them winning something, which grabs a lot of attention. Especially if they're going to like your post and tag friends and invite them to your page or whatever you have set up. Again, it's going back to just taking that risk and taking that step, to push yourself, instead of talking about it all the time, which I did, and I have seen plenty of my business ideas sort of, go out, I just forget about them. Next thing I read in the paper that someone else has done it, and, they're making a success out of it. And, you kick yourself, you say, oh no, I've done it again type thing. again, just if you are confident enough and you believe in yourself enough, and which I'm sure everyone does, take the risk, and it's at the minute it is hard and it's difficult to think around COVID. Obviously it plays a big part, and the decisions that we make. People are obviously thinking, if people have enough money to actually buy your products, but to me, it's actually a good place to start now, and especially if you're just going to work on getting your name out there and getting your, the brand exposure. Which to be honest with you, again, go for it. Do you know what I mean? Go for it. If it doesn't work, start again. What's the worst can happen?
Yeah.
I may be, loaded with a load of clothes here that I can't sell, but listen, they'll go someday. What's the worst? I'll get my money back at least.
Definitely. I've only a couple more questions. I like what you bring up about competitions, and even this week there's a competition on here for €100. For somebody to put forward an idea at the end of the week. So it is something that can really draw business to your sites and get people interested. So a couple of short questions, and then we're going to hand back. But what is your future vision? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see Thomson & Co. in 3 years' time, say?
I want to be lying on a sunbed in the Ibiza when the website works away and all these clothes get sold. But no, so my thing is obviously to grow my business into a website or an actual brand in itself that people know that is genuine, because especially in this market as well, there is a lot of counterfeits and copies of the clothes that get made as well, and you're trying to put out there that you are legit, you are a genuine seller, that your clothes are legit as well. I obviously want to establish a couple of different connections throughout Europe, especially. I have plans to go to Italy in the new year and try and make those connections as well. Again, so that's all around the confidence building from just picking up the phone to phone somebody. I'm actually planning on visiting Italy, to find suppliers here, if I'm allowed, of course. I also want to be in a position where I'm actually able to give back to my community as well. So the community I live, I know it was previously mentioned there, have been a big support in terms of friends and family coming to support me and buy off me as well at the very, very start. So I want to be able to give back to the community as best I can too.
That's brilliant, Thomson. I mean that was my last question to you before we hand back, or maybe take a few questions. Is I know you have an interest in youth work and your community, and I suppose Epic is about entrepreneurship and youth work, and work with young people connecting together.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that there's potential for this that's not being met, or what's your view about entrepreneurship, and where does it sit with youth work, and any advice maybe to youth workers out there about how they should connect with entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I think obviously youth work needs to maybe take that step forward, and look at entrepreneurship, as a way of developing young people. To be honest, entrepreneurship brings in so many skills. Okay, something mightn't work, but the skills that that is brought in around entrepreneurship is so transferable into other careers. And I think the way the world is sort of changing as well. I think people are going to need to be aware of being self-employed or having limited companies in future. Especially the way employers are wanting to work things now. Again, but their business might succeed. That's the thing. And if you're sitting there as a young person and you're thinking, I have this great idea, but I don't know where to look to or where to go, and I couldn't do that, and I don't have the confidence to approach, organizations that are out there that are in place to help. You might think, oh, they're only for big players in the industry type thing, but again, it might succeed and it might work, and they just need that wee boost of confidence in terms of, and that guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree totally. I think maybe we as youth workers need to switch on to the potential of it a lot more and be more confident in a pathway through entrepreneurship. And I think the resources of Epic are brilliant for passing that on to youth workers and youth work organisations. So hopefully that will come out of this. Yeah. Thomson, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's a story in progress, and I can't wait to see how it moves on. And I wish you all the best with it. And